You know, I appreciate what you do because I don't think there's any independent person out there that has the passion that you have, that shares it via YouTube and has a email list that you just send out blast and you talk about pizza, and I love it.
Oh man, thank you. I'm very humble that you'd say that. Yeah, I've been so blessed in my own pizza journey. It's unbelievable. I've been able to meet some of the best pizza makers in the world, and I've gotten to schmooze with them, which is great, and I'm happy to share it. I mean, I certainly have a passion about pizza. So you had a couple of questions. What do you want to talk about?
Well, you know what? I've got a couple post-it notes because I figured we need to have a conversation.
Sure.
So the first one is just curiosity. Since you live in Hawaii, how
Yes.
popular is pineapple on pizza out there?
No, it's not a Hawaii thing at all.
Okay.
I've told the story a couple of times. A number of years ago, I got contacted by, this is many years ago, probably 15 years ago, by a company in Canada. And they said, "Hey, Albert, we're coming to Hawaii. We want you to tell us about Hawaiian pizza." And I said, "I'll tell you, I can't tell you anything about Hawaiian pizza." And as I did some research, Hawaiian pizza really came from this guy in Canada. Invented it, I think, around the 60s. Ended up putting pineapple and Canadian bacon on pizza, called it a Hawaiian pizza. So it really has nothing to do with Hawaii.
Okay.
And I'm on a little quest to tell people, stop calling it Hawaiian pizza. You want to call it pineapple pizza, that's fine. You want to call it Canadian pineapple pizza, that's great. But stop with the Hawaii stuff. And to tell you the truth, they don't even they grow some pineapples, but the pineapple industry has really tanked here in Hawaii over the last 20 years. A lot of plantations have closed. Dole is still growing a certain amount, but not a lot. So I'd say no, it's not very popular here. And it's a
Okay,
very
cool.
weird pizza scene. If you asked me 5 or 6 years ago who made the best pizza in Hawaii, I'd say it's right in my kitchen. But lately, there have been a lot of pizza makers here that have been stepping it up. And so it's great. It's become a real electric pizza scene. So that's kind of cool, I have to say. I'm really happy about that.
All right. I need an Italian pronunciation. Even though I'm Italian, I can't figure out, how do you pronounce Tony's last name?
Okay, good one. Tony Gemignani.
Gemignani. Wait a minute. I got to phonetically spell that out.
That's how I pronounce it, Tony Gemignani. He never corrected me. He's one of my good buddies. But yeah, cool. Isn't that a great book? It's an incredible book, It
is. Hey, I've never cooked on a baking steel.
Okay.
And a lot of this pizza hardware that I really don't need, that I kind of like to have, I suggested to my wife and kids as a birthday or Christmas gift. And Tony mentioned to use 2 steels.
Yes.
So tell me about the steel and how it all works.
Yeah, I will. Again, I was able to meet and interview Andris Lagsden, who's the guy that really started the pizza steel. So if you want to watch a great interview with him, he kind of tells you the whole story of how he invented it, how he got through it. I'll link. I'll try to link that video so you can see it. It's just, it's fantastic.
Is it in your book?
The video is not. No, okay. It's not. You have to go on my YouTube site, or if you search for Andris Lagsden interview about Pizza Steel, I'm sure it'll come right up. That's a great interview, man. He's a cool guy, and he tells his whole story. Name? All right, so his name is Andris, Andris, Lagsden, Lagsdin. And if you just type in Andris Lagsden story,
okay,
you'll come up. It'll come up, which cool. I just did, and it's really it's a great video. I'm really impressed with it, and it was a lot of fun. Him telling me the entire story. He came up with the baking steel by reading a book, and I can't remember it. It's a series of books by this guy that used to work for Microsoft, and now he's he's into this food thing, and the books are like $600 or something. But he's the one in this book. The guy mentioned baking, cooking on steel. So interestingly enough, his father owned a steel fabricating plant, and that was the first prototypes of the steel. Now, he talks about all the benefits. Number one, for me, having gone through a number of baking stones, they crack, they break.
Over the years,
over the years, I've gone through a lot. Now they'll last a long, long time, but they do break. The baking steel is indestructible. And so I have 2 baking steels in my own oven when I cook. And so you got one on the bottom, one on the top. One of the methods that people talk about, I haven't been real successful with it, is cooking it on the baking steel, the lower one and the top one, and then at the end, finishing it off on broil for like a minute. So really cooking the top. I don't do that, but that's what they recommend. Also, Andris has a phenomenal website and videos of his own. He's cooking pizza all the time. It's a well worth the investment. Well worth the investment. So, and you'll have it forever.
But let me ask you this, Albert. So I go online, and yeah, they come in different sizes, but they come in different thicknesses.
Yeah, I can't get it. Yeah, I'm not going to get into the technical aspect of it. I would just go, what happened since Andris invented this, there's a lot of knockoffs. So I just buy the baking steel, and I'll go with whatever it is that he said. So, I mean, I guess you could go to a steel fabrication plant and get your own sheet if you wanted to. I mean, I guess you could do that.
You could. They'll charge you 8 times as much as what you could probably buy one for.
Probably. But that's what I would do. So check it out. Check out baking steel. And I think, for me, Andris also talks about, number one, it's indestructible. But the other thing is, he talks about this, it holds the heat and cooks a pizza a lot better than traditional pizza stone, which are great. Don't get me wrong. I've made a lot of great pizzas.
Is it faster or is it more thoroughly cooked through?
I would say both. Once you get it up to that temperature, and we're talking as high as your home oven will go. My own home oven, I think at this point goes up to 550, and it never really quite gets up to 550. But if you could get it up to 550 or 600 degrees, that's what you want. So, I mean, obviously you want to get your steel or your stone to the highest temperature possible. You want to cook your pizza quick and fast. So, that's that. I mean, I just think it's a well worth the investment. And as I said, over the years, having gone through a bunch of pizza stones, you're never going to buy another one. So.
Okay. So, so you keep one on the bottom rack and one on the top rack?
One I have, yeah, more or less. Yeah. I have one a little bit, not quite the top, but maybe a click down, and one on the bottom.
So are you taking the pizza and first baking it on the bottom, and then after halfway through the process, moving it to the top?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yep. And then cranking on the broil for a minute or so. I haven't had a lot of luck with that, but yeah. Or, I think that's what Tony says, 2 steels, and it's great. I just think they're fantastic. And, Tony's he's the man, he's the main guy. He's the expert, Also Peter Reinhart, another good friend of mine, also recommends that. So
I got this for Christmas.
Oh, buddy.
And
that's great.
My wife got me this and a Detroit steel pan. So I got Peter's Detroit dough recipe out of this.
Yeah. So have you made Detroit? Have you tried it?
I love making them.
Okay. Yeah, they're great. They're great.
The reason why I like making it, Albert, is because the dough has to rise for 4 or 5 hours. My parents live in Atlanta. I'm about 2 hours south of Atlanta. I make the dough the night before, and I don't refrigerate it. And then I put it in the pan with the oil, and I cover it. and that dough is rising for 2.5 hours in the car.
Yep. Yep. Fantastic. 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 You know, what he talks about in the book too is to start putting your, after the first rise, you can start putting the cheese in, and it'll, you know, that's what I've done. But I think the book is great. That master formula for dough is just incredible. It just makes amazing pizza. I'm astounded by it. And I have a funny story, I think, that I told Peter. When I first got the recipe, he asked us, a bunch of us, to be testers for the recipe. So the first, I don't know, 1 or 2 times I made a batch of the dough, and I thought, okay, and I didn't read the thing that you're making 2 batches, not 1. So my first couple came out a little bit thick. It was still good. And then I figured out, oh man, cut the dough in half. I can make two pieces out of it. But the master formula is just fantastic. I think, you know, just an amazing thing. The other thing I found is that it's a very wet dough. It's not like a traditional pizza dough. It's a little bit
to it.
Yeah, it's got a little sticky to it. And you know, another trick from Peter is that he does a stretch and fold, and that has really improved my pizza game. I used to need for, you know, 8 minutes. Now I don't do it anymore. I just do the stretch and fold, wait a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, come back, do a stretch and fold like 4 times. And the dough just takes on its own properties there. And I think what you mentioned, making it the day before in the oven, I mean, in the fridge, you know, making the dough and letting it ferment in the fridge, just fantastic.
Yeah. I started to get the Pizza Today magazine.
Yeah.
About a year ago, and in the back of that, there's all the advertising. Well, I found this company in the state of Washington, Lolyd Pans.
There you go. Yeah, they're the ones. I have a couple of Lolyd Pans for my Detroits.
Yeah,
they're just fantastic.
Detroits, but one thing I didn't know about that Lolyd had is the lid, the aluminum lid.
Yep.
So you can stack and the dough can rise.
Yeah, no, that lid is great. Yeah, that's great. That's a great way to do it. You know, I think, yeah, that's just fantastic. And, you know, because it's a double recipe, you're making 2 Detroits, maybe 1 to eat at home, 1 to take to your parents, you know. But I've taken it to a bunch of family gatherings, parties, and people go nuts over it. They've never had anything like it. So there is a new pizza place here in Hawaii that just started making Detroits, and they're doing a great job with it. So it's a different kind of style. Totally.
It is. And when you say Detroit, somebody will fire back with, well, is that like Chicago style?
Right. That's a good point. No, it's not.
Not at all.
Not at all. Not at all. And, you know, not to rank on Chicago style, but, you know, it's kind of a casserole pizza if you're doing Chicago style. It's a little bit different. I don't have a lot of experience with it. I've eaten it a bunch of times, but no, it's very different. Not at all. And the big I think the biggest difference is the cheese around the edge. You know, it's because Tony says it's like a burnt grilled cheese sandwich, you know, and it's true. It's great. Just very different kind of style.
My wife is the fan of the corner piece because she always liked the corner brownie that had the double crust.
Yeah, there you go. Right. I talked to a buddy of mine, Jeff Smokevich, who's kind of an expert in Detroit, and that's what he said. When they were growing up, they would fight over that corner piece, you know, and his little sister always got left behind because there were too many other people snagging it.
So I need for you to define something for me, because as a kid growing up in New York, all I knew was New York pizza.
Right.
Your book mentions Neapolitan and New York style, and I couldn't tell you the difference. Can you enlighten me?
Okay, yeah, I can. And again, I don't feel like I'm an expert. Neapolitan style, very different, made with double O flour. And the biggest difference, I think, is in the crust. It's a puffy, poofy, light crust, very, very light. usually made a strict Neapolitan is usually made in a wood-fired oven and cooks very, very fast. There is even a Naples professional pizza makers have their own DOC. They certify Neapolitan style. New York style, a lot different as far as I can see. You know, it's got a crunch to it, a thin crust, cooked generally in any kind of oven. But I would say that's the biggest difference is the crust itself. So you've had Neapolitan style. Do you know what I'm talking about?
You know,
that puffy, poofy crust.
Yeah, because once you said generally made in a wood burning oven, I pictured in my head how it's very light and airy. It's not.
Yes,
it's
right.
kind of like you might have like a bubble in between the bottom piece of the crust and the top piece of the crust.
Yeah, you might. Yeah, that's true. And it cooks very fast. You know, Neapolitan pizza is going to cook 60 to 90 seconds. You know, not a long, very, very quickly. Where New York style would take a few more minutes. And there should be in Georgia, there are a bunch of Neapolitan style pizzerias that I'm sure you could find.
Yeah, probably
anyway.
the Atlanta area. There's a place I think called Antico's. And he's got 3 big, huge wood burning ovens.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. So that, great.
So here's another question.
Okay.
I watched these videos of people twirling pizzas.
Yeah, man. No, I'm telling you.
But the question is that a special kind of dough to withstand the tearing and the poking and all of that?
Okay. So yeah, that's a great question. You know, in a pizzeria, when you see someone tossing a pizza and throwing it up in the air and stretching it, they're taking that dough and they're cooking a pizza on it. You know, it's a way to stretch it. Now, in the competition, like at Pizza Expo, they have a special kind of dough that they use, so it doesn't tear, and it's not made to be eaten at all. It has a lot of salt, and it's a totally different kind of dough. So those guys that are in competition, like Tony Gemignani, 9-time world champion twirler, pizza acrobat, they're using a certain kind of special dough. So yeah, does that make sense?
It does, because to your point, somebody in the pizzeria is tossing it up and then he's making a pie on it, but that pizza doesn't go up and down and around the block and down his shoulder and all that other stuff.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
And so I was just baffled at how it could retain its shape and not fold, and when you're catching it like this, not go through your hand.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, I have I've tried so many times. I can toss it a little bit, but no, invariably I make a mistake with my pizza. So I'm not a huge tosser, although I have tossed a little bit. But those guys in competition, it's a different kind of dough, a lot more heartier. And yeah, they were able to, do it around the back, on their head, across the shoulders, yeah. So.
When I first started making pizza, I would just kind of toss for the wow effect of the people watching.
Yeah.
Until I quickly realized all that did was piss my wife off and throw flour all over the floor.
Yeah.
So I quit doing that.
Yeah. I have a friend of mine, John F., who said, who contends he put a skylight in his kitchen so he could get a higher toss. I don't know if that's true.